Well, let's try this. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Dylan Talks Tone. Welcome to the Just Gonna Say It podcast on the old Tuesday afternoon. I am sorry if you missed out somehow. I goofed up the stream. Somehow I made it a private live stream instead of a public one, and so therefore we kind of goofed up the thing. So probably what we should do real quick is let's go ahead and share this really fast. Sorry for the little goof up in our timeline today. So let's just share this. Sorry about the little technical talking in all you impatient people that you don't get to the subject right away. You're just gonna have to hang on for a second. Sorry. I goofed, not even the stream goofed up. I goofed up the stream. Here it is. Oops. All right, there we go. So I just shared it out so that people could find it. Okay, so welcome everybody to all of you who are finally finding it. Thank you so much. A couple things before we get going. I want to tell you that we did go ahead and kind of make the move to all ad-free live streams. So if you want to support the stream with a super chat or some such thing, we're not going to do ads during live streams anymore. It just made it way more fun. It doesn't screw up the flow for you. We are going to turn the ads on afterwards so that people that watch them in replay have normal YouTube experience. But during the live streams, I think it just screws it up too much. So if you definitely want to be supporting the channel in some way with a super sticker or a super chat or something like that, you can even do the little super thanks thing in the comments afterwards if you're watching it in replay. So I just want to mention that. A couple of other things I want to tell you before we get going. We have new hats. This is we make these in-house. This is actually laser cut cork on Richardson 112. Really nice hat. These are $39. They're on the website. You can get them. We have new pickup parts. Humbucker magnets. We have a bunch of magnets. We're coming out with pickup kits later this week. We're going to have a couple of those coming out, which is pretty cool. We're going to start with Strat stuff. Yeah, so there's just a few things I wanted to tell you about and before we get started. So if you have a question or a comment about guitar stuff, put a bunch of question marks in front of it. I am going to ask for your input on today's discussion in just a few minutes as we get going. So you are welcome to do that as well. And so hello to everybody. We're also going to put this on all of the other podcasting platforms and stuff later on, probably tomorrow morning or something. So the subject of today's podcast and the subject of my meandering brain is my insert blank guitar, gear, whatever, worth it? Is this thing worth it? It seems that is one of the biggest driving forces behind content, behind questions, behind Facebook groups, behind the greater guitar community in general. Is this thing worth it? Is my and of course it comes up especially when you have a more expensive guitar. So, a Les Paul or something that costs some money. And then they can become very divisive conversations, which is really weird, right? Because isn't this stuff we're supposed to be doing for fun? This is not a war zone, right? Like we're supposed to be having fun. It seems that a lot of guitar content and, like I said, in groups and stuff, and just conversation in general is driven by this comparison, like comparing one instrument to the other, comparing, is this cheap thing as good as this, or not even as good as? It could be, is this better than this one? Is this worse than this one? Is this just as good as this one? These price points, this one's more expensive than this one. Is this just as good as that one? Is it going to give me what I want? Is the money that I'm about to spend on this thing worth it? I have a real problem with this. I think that this culture is really damaging to guitar culture. I think the whole comparison thing is very damaging. Let me tell you where all this came from. Part of it came from that whole Power Reed Smith thing. Because when you try to inject value into something that doesn't necessarily need it in order to sell a thing, to me, that can be divisive to a community, right? The other thing that happened, and I will just tell you, nothing against the person. I think he was genuine in asking. I bought this pocket knife. I ordered this pocket knife like a year ago, and it just came in last week. And it is not a cheap knife. This is kind of a grail knife that I've been kind of after for years. This is a Spartan Harsey folder. And it's a special edition one. It's titanium. It's all, it's cool. Magna cut. It's got all the things. It's not cheap. And somebody looked it up on the internet and they're like, wow, it costs that much money. Why is it better than a $110? And I was like, I think I'm going to stop spending so much time, or at all, I'm not going to do it at all, explaining why I think something should be worth it to somebody. I'm just not going to do it anymore. If you do not understand what makes this knife special, I can't explain it to you. It's a thing that you just feel. It's a thing that you just know. As you continue to have appreciation for particular things, you start to appreciate them. It may not be worth it to you. It may not at all. You might be a pocket knife guy who just needs any old random pocket knife. And I am too. And I do have pocket knives for that, but not this one. This one's special. Does that mean that I like a $110 any worse? No, absolutely not. In fact, when you think about the legacy of Buck as a company, they've been around for years and years and years, and family owned, and everything's made in the United States. And the Buck that I have has ebony left over from a Taylor guitar, which is really freaking cool. So I value my Buck 110 very, very much in a different way than I value this. It's not a better or worse. It's not a comparison. There's no need for that. And that Buck 110 is a $70 knife, and this is not a $70 knife. Okay, no problem. There's nothing wrong with that. What's interesting is in a lot of the other communities that I'm in, this kind of doesn't happen. It's only the guitar ones. I just think that mentality and that practice of comparison between things and not allowing them to just be what they are is damaging to the community as a whole. I don't agree with it, and I don't want to contribute to it. I don't want to contribute to it anymore. I'm not gonna spend any time on, is this Gibson Les Paul worth it? Is this Epiphone as good as this Gibson? Is this whatever? I'm not going to spend time on that stuff. Now, there might be a time, and there have been times, where you want to know the actual difference between an Epiphone Les Paul and a Gibson Les Paul. This is not, is the guitar worth it? This is, what is the difference? Well, these woods come from this country. These woods come from this country. That's why the wood is more expensive. This labor comes from this country. This labor comes from this country. These various things are sourced from here, and the cost of these parts is this, and the labor that's involved in a Gibson Les Paul versus an Epiphone, the way they do it, et cetera, the finish time, all those sorts of things, is the reason these two guitars cost what they cost. Now, is that question, is the guitar worth it? No, not at all. I'll give you the list of things, and then you decide what's worth it to you. I don't need to know. I'm interested in how you feel about it, but it's not my job, nor should it be yours, to spend any time worrying about whether a product should be worth it to someone else. You know what I mean? It's just a weird thing. What does worth it even mean? So my Gibson Les Paul. I have a Gibson Les Paul. I have, what are some other kind of controversial guitars that I have? I have a Gibson Les Paul. I have a carbon fiber acoustic, McPherson, and I have my Mike McCready Stratocaster. Those are the three guitars I can think of where people are like, those guitars aren't worth it. And they, get very opinionated about that. So not those guitars in particular, but those are the ones that I have that makes me think of this. Do you have instruments that you can think of? And I want to know from you, this is a genuine question. I want to know what makes an instrument worth it to you. Because I want to kind of flush out a point with this conversation. So get in the comments and tell me what makes an instrument worth it to you. I'm going to tell you what makes an instrument worth it to me. And from now on, this is what you're going to hear me talk about on my channel. Why I like stuff. So what makes an instrument worth it to me? Let's start with, we'll start with those three guitars, shall we? The carbon fiber acoustic guitar. The workmanship is incredible. The engineering is incredible. And something that is less tangible for people that I don't think people understand, for me personally, is the story. How that guitar happened. The person who engineered that guitar, where he started, what he did before, what he still does. Matt McPherson. I like the story. The story means something to me. There are certain guitars that people play that don't have a story. They just they just got spit out of a factory. And I like a guitar that has a story. I like things that have a story. That's like this pocket knife. I like the fact that this is made by a particular person, ex-Special Forces, North Carolina, blah, 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 blah. Lots of story, lots of engineering time, designed by Bill Harsey. A whole thing, right? Like, that's why I like this pocket knife. That's why I wanted one in my collection. What are the things that make a guitar worth it to you? What do you value about an instrument? The reason I want to bring this up, and I'm just kind of letting them go for a few minutes, is because, and then we'll go back and look at some of your comments, is it's going to be different for everybody. And so that's why I don't think it's fair, or I don't think it's smart to spend a lot of time telling somebody else why I think a thing is worth it. Why I think you should think a thing is worth it. I'm going to tell you why I do. You don't have to agree with me. Not at all whatsoever. No big deal. You don't have to agree with me. So yeah, let's chat about this. Let's see. Let's see. Whatever it takes to find the gear inspiring to play more. Me too. Materials well built, plays well for decades, inspires me to pick it up and play and even outlast me. Okay, cool. For me, it's about connection. If I can't pass it by without thinking, that is so cool. That is it, making it the best it can be through mods and making it my own. Okay, cool. Yeah. Honestly, it's worth it if I feel better about playing it. Whatever it takes to inspire me to play more. Okay, cool. It's something to literally play, and the other. Okay, so let's see. And I'm gonna call BS on anybody who gets in here. I've not seen it here. I'm not gonna, and I don't care about money. We're not talking about money right now. We're talking about the value of the instrument to you as a human being. That's what this should be about. Dollars don't matter. Dollars don't matter. Dollars never should matter when it comes to this stuff. If you find value in a thing, and here's why. If you find value in a thing, you will find a way to have that thing. You'll dream about it for years. You'll aspire to have it. You will want it. You will whatever. I mean, it took me 20 years to get a D28, but I have one. I couldn't afford it when I first wanted it. I couldn't afford it years after I wanted it. It took me a long time to get that guitar. But I wanted it because it was something that I knew that I would value. So it's value, not money. We're not talking about money here. We're not talking about a $600 Squire versus a $2,000 Strat. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the value of the instrument to you as a human being. That is what should matter. 100%. Money shouldn't matter at all. Because it just shouldn't. And I'm going to call BS on anybody who says, well, it's just a tool and that's all I use it for. And it's just a tool and it doesn't even matter. That's bull. And I'll tell you why. Because if you didn't like it, you wouldn't play it. If you didn't inspire you to play, you would not play it. So that automatically takes the tool thing out of it. Completely takes it out of it. This is about art. This is about expression of oneself. That's what a guitar is. That's what an instrument should be. Whether it's a tool for doing that or not is irrelevant. It is a way to express yourself. It is not just a piece of machine. When I look at a pocket knife might not be the right, because I do find ways to express myself with a pocket knife. Firearms are a good example. They're just a piece of engineering to me. They're very cool machines. I find them fascinating. I don't express myself with them. I do develop a skill with them, but I do not express. It's not a form of art for me. Now, it could be for somebody else, but it isn't for me. It's just a fascination with a machine, right? But a guitar is not just that. A guitar is a way to express oneself. And so I think that's what we lose. Let's see. End of the day, it's just a tool, but someone can have pride in their tools. Yeah, see, I disagree. You can feel that way. I'm not telling you to feel some way different. I just disagree. And I kind of call BS on anybody who says that, because if you couldn't express yourself properly with that tool, you wouldn't use it. You wouldn't. Money shouldn't matter, but for most people it does. If you're willing to save for years, it's because you value that thing more. That's why money doesn't matter. That's why money doesn't matter. Dollars always matter in a competitive market where all these companies make products pretty much to do the same thing. I disagree, and here's why. If you view it that way, then you are viewing your art as a commodity. This is not toilet paper. This is not tidy whities, okay? This is something that you are doing for love and for enjoyment. And so if you think of the guitar as a commodity, then that's fine. That's totally fine. You're welcome to do that. However, most folks, if they're really honest with themselves, are pretty passionate about this stuff. And focusing on that side of it and less about the money is key. I think it's the key of the whole thing. I think it's the key of the whole thing. A guitar should not matter how much it costs. It just shouldn't. If you want it, you want it. If you're patient enough to save for it, then that tells me how much you want it. Otherwise, you don't really. Otherwise, you are not. That's not for you. If you are not willing to save up for something, then that's probably not the guitar for you. Or anything. House, car, wife, anything. If you're not willing to put the work in, it's not the thing for you. End of story. Which is totally fine. That is totally fine. It's just be honest with yourself about it. Another way to look at it is my $400 guitar could be worth a lot more to me than your $3,000 guitar is worth to you. That's a very valid point. That's a very valid point. I have a $400 guitar that is worth more than all my other guitars to me. I have a $300 guitar that is worth all my, there we go. Is worth more than my other guitars. I 100% agree with you. My first Strat, I will never, ever, ever, ever sell. And is worth, burning building scenario, house burning down. That's the guitar I'm going to grab. And it's the cheapest one. It's the cheapest one I own. But it's worth the most in that sense. So yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with you. Super chat from Jim Litter. Thanks so much, Jim. Jim says, thank you. It's about expression of the music and yourself through inspiration, regardless of cost. Value comes from if the guitar does that. That's exactly what we're talking about here. I bet Fender would make underwear. I bet they do make underwear. I bet they do. Or at least they license them out to one of those mall stores. You know what I mean? You can go in those mall stores and buy like Fender t-shirts and Fender, all kinds of hair ties if you're a girl, like all kinds of earrings, all kinds of stuff. So they probably do make underwear. Yeah, as you can tell, I'm really, really passionate about this. I think it's really important. Now, the other thing is, I believe that unless you're a total douche, you should not worry about what somebody else's guitar is worth or what they think their guitar is worth versus what you think your guitar is worth or any of that kind of stuff. Comparison breeds contempt, right? We are all doing this because we find it fun. So why do we compare? I have no problem. Last night on our live Patreon live stream, one of the guys on the Patreon live stream was talking about our Patreon hangout, was talking about this Harley Benton thing that he got. And like, I have no ill will against that. I wanted to hear all about it. He's like, oh, I got to tell you about this next week. And so we talked all about it. I have no ill will against that. I understand why he does it. I'm not going to do it. I don't like it. It's no big deal. I have no problem with it. I'm not going to do it myself. Interesting. It was a very interesting conversation. Very crazy product, man. You could get a 412 cabinet with British Celestians in it for like $500, which is like cheaper than the speakers, which is crazy. Anyway, that's an aside. But yeah. Let's see. Sorry about the spelling and the grammar. Yeah, no worries. Brand logos sell to folks who will never play guitar as well as to those who love the brand for its products. You know, I don't care about brand stuff. People want to say that brand is just all about that brand and whatever. You know, that brand, whoever it is, whether it's Rolls-Royce or Gibson or Paul Reed Smith or Mont Blanc or Chris Reeves, Mac, Apple, anybody who makes a Dylan Tux Tone, anybody who makes a premium product that costs more, has spent a long time developing that brand and building value in that brand. And so for somebody to say or accuse somebody of being like a brand whore or whatever, you're just doing it for the brand name. Maybe I am. Maybe I do want, a Chris Reeves Sabenza because it's the most iconic friggin' pocket knife in the world. And I have one and it's amazing. And it is really. Maybe I do want a Porsche 911 because it is one of the most iconic things in the world. Oh, it's just about the brand. Well, it's not. You might not appreciate the same things about it that I do, but that's what I want. I'm going to have one. I will have one. It will take me years to save for it, just like everything else, but I will have one. Gibson Les Paul, Martin D28, whatever it is. That people say, well, it's just all about the brand and a brand is blah, blah, brand, whatever. they've spent a long time. Those brands have spent a long time and a lot of money, invested a lot of money and a lot of time into developing that brand into that thing so that it is a premier brand. That's what the point is. Not everything is just toilet paper and tidy whities, man. There are luxury brands to everything, and it's totally fine. And to want that stuff is totally fine. I mean, like, I just think that you're kind of a jerk if you look down on somebody else for liking something that you don't like, especially if it's more expensive than the thing that you like. I think that happens all the time. That happens more often than not, where people, it happens to me a lot. People accuse me of being a snob because I play nice guitars, right? And I'm not that good. I don't care. I think it's cool. I think they're cool. So that's why I have them. I like them. But then they will spend 3 times as much time talking about how their guitar, blah, 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 talking up their guitar, or their gear or whatever. And they're really just trying to like establish their place on the mountain. So it's just sort of like a reverse ego thing, kind of, like people accuse somebody that has nice stuff of having some sort of snobbery about them, but you're a cheap guitar snob if you do the same thing to somebody that has a nice guitar. So it kind of goes both ways, right? So that's why I think all this kind of stuff is stupid. I think I just want to know what you do. I want to know, about your guitar. I'm just going to spend time on telling you what I like. And I think that's fun. I really think that's fun. And to tell you the honest truth, I do not care. I told people a long time ago that I would say I don't care a lot less. Here's a time where I do not care what you think of my guitar. I do not. Whether you like it, whether you don't, I don't care. Because I buy stuff because I like it, not because you like it. And you should do the same. What I do care about, I want to know why you do what you do. I want to know what you bought. What did you buy? Did you buy a Harley Benton this week? Tell me about it. I don't care. I'm not going to do it because I like different stuff. But I want to know what you bought and why you bought it. You might have some crazy story that goes with that. It's not about the thing. It's about the story. It's about what has driven the passion for that, And then that'll tell me if I'm going to be friends with you or not. Because if you bought that Harley Benton because you're just trying to be cheap and prove to the world that this guitar is amazing, we probably aren't going to be friends. But if you bought that guitar and you're like, hey, man, you know what? The only guitar I had is one I pulled out of a trash can, and now I have a Harley Benton, and it's awesome, and I'm stoked, and I've been playing every day, and all my friends came over, and I showed it to them. It was cool. Like, there's a whole story that goes with it. It's super inspiring. It's inspiring to other people. That's what this is about. That's what this is about. 100%. I don't care if your guitar is lime green with pink polka dots if you like it. That's right. Off topic. Did you or someone in the family draw that samurai? No, I bought that. Let's see. Hang on, I'm trying to go back through here. Dude, luxury toilet paper does sound pretty good. Actually. Hang on, I'm trying to go through all this stuff backwards to try to catch up. Dylan, the cable is awesome. Aren't they? Dude, yeah. By the way, those Runway audio cables are still for sale too. You can get those. I don't think they're British Celestians. So we read spec sheets last night because that question did come up. There were some cabinets on that Harley Benton thing that were Chinese Celestians, and then there were ones that said literally these Celestians are made in Britain. Like it literally said it on there. So, I mean, maybe they're lying, probably not, but yeah. Yeah. Let's see. I just got a new S2 PRS. Sweet. How quickly does a guitar pick up the vibration of the strings? Like microseconds, nanos? Oh, immediately. Absolutely immediately, because well, okay. This is, as soon as there's motion, you're making electricity. Okay, so as soon as there's motion, you're making electricity, but it has to be at a frequency. This is where frequency comes into play. So if you go over there and you just take the string and you move it back and forth, there will be voltage, but there will be no sound, because you need to move it at a frequency that makes a sound, right? You have to be going fast enough to make a tone, to make, 440 for an A, or whatever the frequency is in hertz or kilohertz to make that sound. It needs to be moving at that speed. The A needs to be vibrating at 440 times a second, right? So if you just go like this back and forth 5 times, it's not going to make sound, but it will make electricity. You can actually take a, this is a little hack, I'll tell you. If you don't know which way your magnets are, the polarity of your magnets and the polarity of your pickup is, you could take like a socket wrench or like a big socket. You hook up a meter to your pickup, okay? It helps to do this with a needle meter. A digital meter might not be fast enough to do this, but this is how you know you're making electricity right away. You hook up a meter with a needle on it, okay? Because you can see it move faster, respond more quickly. Hook it up to the pickup and take a socket and go like this over the top of the pickup a couple times, just like 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. And you'll watch that meter move this way or this way. And what it'll do is it'll go one way and then it'll go back the other way. The way that it goes first is the way that the polarity is. So if you take 2 pickups that you don't know the polarity of them and you go like this with a socket on top of them, and the magnet goes, or the needle goes like this way, then you do the other pickup and it goes this way, then that means you'll have to switch the wires to have them in phase. But that's also how you know that you're making electricity immediately right away. You can actually see it on the meter, but you're not hearing it because it's not at a frequency that can be heard. This is the other reason why all the tonewood garbage is a bunch of garbage, because we talk about resonant frequencies and stuff. The resonant frequencies of most hard objects like wood, well, wood's actually pretty soft in the grand scheme of all of this, is at a frequency that can't be heard anyway. So, if you take a piece of swamp ash and you try to frequency sweep it, you put it on a frequency, you like stick some pins in it and you feed a frequency into it to try to get it to resonate, as in, think resonate as in like, so what you're trying to do is introduce, this is how you find that, well, I don't want to go way off in the weeds here, but when an opera singer sings and she hits the frequency and breaks the wine glass, that's because she's found the resonant frequency of the glass. Okay. Wood, it's way lower than that, below what we can hear. So if you were to do the same thing, basically it would be not a usable tone that would make that wood resonate, if that makes sense. That's why all this stuff is such dumb. It's just dumb. Let's see. Jeff Healy is a good example of somebody who's on the headstock doesn't matter. Tell you the truth, what's on the headstock does matter. To me, it does matter to me. Now, it doesn't matter in relation to something else, but it does matter. Because there's an expectation that comes with it. A Squire Strat does a thing. An American Classic 2, or whatever they're called now, American Vintage 2, does a thing. A Custom Shop Strat does a thing. They all three do different things. And it does matter what's on the headstock because they all do different things. Now, what do they do? Okay, so they all make sound. They all play chords. Yes, Jeff Healey could play all three of them and sound amazing. Anybody could play all three of them and sound amazing if they're a great guitar player. But do they give every guitar player the fizz? Right? Do they give every guitar player the same level of inspiration? No, they don't. Do they give some guitar player? Does each one give maybe a different guitar player some level of inspiration for different reasons? Absolutely. So then if you have an instrument, no matter the cost, that fits something that inspires you, if it fits into your arsenal that inspires you to do a thing, then it doesn't matter what the guitar costs. You should have one. If it's a $200 guitar and you use it for a thing, and it's like, I like it when it does this thing, even though you have a $10,000 guitar over here, if that $200 guitar has a spot, you should have that $200 guitar. It's not about skills. It's not about who's better. It's not about what's better. It's not about any of that. Does that guitar do a thing? If it does the thing you want it to do, then you should have it. You should get it. And it should fill that spot. If it doesn't fill that spot anymore and you decide you don't want it anymore, then you get a different one, right? Like that's what we do. But this whole thing about levels and all this kind of stuff, just find a thing that does a thing and have it, like, and just have it, you know? Somebody asked me this morning, why aren't you going to get a gold top with P90s in it? I'm like, well, because I already have 3 or 4 guitars with P90s in them. And so I don't really need, I have a 24-7-5 scale. My Texas Toast Level 2 Pink Paisley top has P90s in it, and it's a 24-7-5 scale. And so I don't really feel the need to have another one. Because I like that guitar. That's like one of my favorite guitars I've ever had. So I like that guitar. So I don't have a spot for it. It's not that I don't like that stuff. It's just I don't have a spot for it. I actually really like that stuff. But, just because that's the other thing too, just because you change your mind on something, everything's constantly moving, right? Like, so yeah, it's really cool. It's fun to think about, when you actually think about this objectively. This is all subjective, of course, but when you think about it, what I'm talking about objectively is without, I don't know, like we're all just human beings playing guitar, man. That's all we're doing. Super fun. What you really need is a pink suit for all your pink guitars. I have a purple one. I have a purple suit. Do saddles have anything to do with guitar pickup hum? They shouldn't if they are, if the bridge is grounded properly, then it shouldn't change with whatever it's made of, as long as they're metal. Yeah, it shouldn't really. See, what's really cool is if you scroll through these comments today, you look in the chat, right? And all y'all are like, yeah, this is why I like this guitar. This is why I like this guitar. And nobody's talking any crap. Everybody's in there just like, yeah, I just bought this guitar and this is why I like it. This is it's not that hard. It's not that hard. We should all do it all the time. Yeah. And I started to say this earlier. I actually wrote this down because I wanted to not forget to say this because I do believe it. people accuse me all the time of saying, like, I don't know, if somebody doesn't agree with me, then I'm going to, no, I want to know what you think. I don't care what you think about my guitars, but I'd like to know what you think about yours. And I want to hear opinions if, now this is very important, if you really believe them, and if you can support your opinions with a reasonable conversation. If you hit me with rubber strings and rubber bridges like Paul Reed Smith did, I'm out. If you hit me with some trolley garbage from the internet that is just I heard this 1,000 times on the internet, so I'm going to say this the same way every time, I'm out. But if you can actually, in an intelligent conversation, be like, this is why I like a thing that you don't like, I will 100% respect that. And I think it's cool. And I think most people should. I wish more guitar players would do that for each other. I would like to, but there's two problems here. One is guitar players are too self-conscious and weird about their own stuff. BetterHelp.com/DylanTalksTone, just saying, discount. And the other thing is, now I distracted myself and forgot because I'm all like, woo. What was I going to say? I don't even know. Completely went off the rails. Whatever. Anyway, I'd rather have a great amp and a good guitar than a good amp and a great guitar. Yeah, I don't know. Why not have both? You know what I mean? I will be attending a TTG workshop in September. Will you be there to teach us to make pickups? I will not. I don't believe I will not. What is the best way to contact you? I've got some money to blow on some pickups. You just go to DylanTalksTone.com and you click around and you buy stuff. That is the easiest way. Yep. The link is right there. DylanTalksTone.com. You just go there. Let's see. Given how PRS pickups are voiced, I think he has bad ears anyway. Yeah, dude, but he totally like TCI's them, bro. They're like totally TCI'd. So that's an interesting thing that you say that. You can't design stuff just off of numbers. I think, and this is a super interesting thing that you say there. How the guitar makes you feel is more important than what it's made of. It's like the non-tangible things. And I think this is what got me going on this whole conversation before, was about this pocket knife. It's the non-tangible things about this knife that it's not that it's made out of titanium. You can buy a Civivi made in China for $100 made out of titanium. You could probably for $150 or $200, you can buy a titanium frame locker with a MagnaCut blade for $200 probably. But it's not this. And it's the intangible things about this that make me really, really like it. It's the same intangible things that you can't see on a spec sheet that make me like a Gibson Les Paul. Or a D28 or a whatever. There's all these things that you can't put in a video. And it's hard to explain to somebody who doesn't appreciate those things. So that's why I'm not going to. I'm just going to tell you what I appreciate. When I open my case of my Les Paul and the pink inside and the way it looks, the way it smells, the perfect level of shine versus kind of scuffiness that the nitrocellulose gets after a long time, the way the fretboard feels, the edge of the fretboard with the nibbed binding that you can't get really on any other guitar, that imitates that more or less. And I know there's some other guitars that, you know, like custom makers and stuff, and even like what you call the one that's made in the old Gibson factory, but they're not the same though. They don't feel like that. Gibsons have a thing, man. They have a thing. I can't explain it to you. I don't know. I can't put it into words. I can't. And that's the challenge. That's what I am challenged to do as a person who does what I do for a living, is to try to put that into words. But the people that are like, it's too expensive, aren't going to appreciate those words anyway. No matter how I say it, they're just right over their head, which is totally cool because they are in a different place. They just do a different thing, want a different thing, appreciate a different thing than I do. I just think it's interesting. It's just an interesting thing. You can't get the smell of a Gibson anywhere else. I wish they had it in a candle or something. The feel of guitars is the same for me as the feel of reading physical books. Interesting. I like that. I like that analogy. Hi, Dylan. Have you ever tried the Peter Green mod? Any thoughts? We actually have I'm actually tomorrow making a set. We sell a Peter Green mod DAF on our website. And yes, it's awesome. I'm actually making a pair tomorrow for a guy who ordered them last week. It's like trying to describe the way a bike feels to a non-rider. True, exactly. Somebody's going to look at something like a motorcycle and say, that's just dangerous. I have, you know, whatever their perspective of it is, and not appreciate the feeling of that. That's because I'm a motorcyclist too, and I 100% get that. Anything, especially more premium products, there is all kinds of intangible things that just don't make sense to people who, and it's totally okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But also, what I don't want to do is try to convince anyone. I don't want to convince you. I'm not going to try to convince you to spend what I spent on this pocket knife. I'm not going to try. I'm just going to enjoy it, and I'm going to tell you what I enjoy about it. I'm not going to tell you, you know, that you should go buy, you know, all the reasons why I think you should go buy a Gibson Les Paul instead of an Epiphone one. I'm not going to do that. That wouldn't be fair because everybody appreciates something different. I'm just going to tell you why I like it. It's the sight and the smell and the sound and it's all about the tone. No, it isn't. Well, they sound exactly the same. A, no, they don't. And B, I don't care. As much as this is called Dylan Talks Tone, the things that matter oftentimes are not tone. Oftentimes, most of the time, are not. Especially for me. Because, don't forget, I can make a guitar sound however I want. Like, I have the tools to make a guitar sound however I want. Like he was just talking about Peter Green. Like, I'll just go in there and wind some pickups and I'll just make a Peter Green. I don't care. Doesn't matter. I can make a guitar sound however I want. That's what I do. That's my job. Therefore, all the other things that are not tone matter more to me about a guitar because I can just fix it. And honestly, if you know me and you know where my website is, you can fix it too. So you now have the freedom to like that other stuff more than care about tone. And it's not just about tone, because if you can't play it, if you don't want to play it, if you don't like how it plays, if you don't like how it feels, if you don't like how it smells, if you don't like all those things about it, then you're not going to get the tone you want out of it no matter what you do, no matter what pickups you put in it, nothing. So all the non-tangible things that give a guitar value to a person, to me, are more important than the parts themselves. Because once you have that, then you can just add the parts and then it's awesome. I just think people are doing it backwards. Way too gear-centric and not worrying so much about the intangible things about the guitar, which I've been thinking about this all week. And I'm going to, in my reviews from now on, I'm going to spend more time on the intangible things. so that I can try to convey a feeling and a motivation for it. You know, more than just how high's the action. You didn't say in the video how high the action is. It doesn't matter because you can just fix it. It's no big deal. Like if the action comes too high at a box, just turn it a couple times. It's fixed. I don't care about that. I care about how the guitar makes me feel. If the action's a little off, I can just adjust it a little bit. No big deal. Like people worry about the wrong things. To be fair, that might be an education thing because a lot of people are told a lot of weird things and therefore think that certain things are important when they're really not because they've been told that for so many years, which also kind of then brings us back around to the beginning of this conversation, why all this stuff, it's important the way we as guitar players talk to each other about this stuff because it's what makes us want to be part of this community or not, you know. I never thought to ask this. What humbucker set would you recommend for a Telecaster fan? I don't care what it sounds spot on. I care that it would be a guitar that could do anything. Center punches. Get a pair of center punches and put coil splits on both of them. So what I do in a Telecaster is I put a center punch set in there, and then I take the tone knob and I put a push pull on it that push pulls, that coil splits both pickups at the same time. Because you don't want to have a bunch of pushy-pulley crap on there. Just one. And that will get you real close. That'd be super cool. Let's see. Why did rack gear die out? Not enough emotion or... No, technology got better. You know, technology got better. Really. Where did you get that samurai print? Displate.com. Displate. It's metal. It's actually metal. And if you look on the other wall, you know, in some of my other videos, there's a knight over there, and then there's a skull with roses on it. Those are also metal. And then in our living room, we have some metal ones too. In my wife's office, we have some metal ones too. If the action is too high, fix it. Oh man, you just gave me an idea for a video or for a t-shirt about action. You probably didn't get a notification earlier because I screwed up the stream. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. This has been super fun. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks to you for sharing your time with us. You bet, man. Dude, it's about time for me to go too. This has been really cool. My whole idea with this is to share what I think is more important about the community than, you know, the intangible stuff, the hanging out, the stuff we do every week together. So fun. It's so fun, man. And I appreciate all of you. We are getting so close to 100,000 subscribers. Let me just say this. I'm going to talk about the 100,000 subscriber thing a bunch because I really want to hit it. And I don't want anybody. So if you've been here this long in this stream, I'm just going to share a couple personal things before we go. I got about 4 minutes. One is, this is it. I want to hit 100,000 subscribers really bad. 60% of you are not subscribed. I don't want to hit it for any other reason. You know, it's not a status thing. It's not anything like that. We don't have the view count on our videos. Like, we don't get like hundreds of thousands of views on a video or tens of thousands of views on every video like Phil McKnight does, right? So we're never, it's not about, you know, making money with YouTube or anything. But the 100,000 subscriber thing for me is a milestone in the perseverance sense. Like, most people, if they're going to make 100,000 subscribers, they'll do it in a few years, couple years. It's taken me 11. It's going to take me 11 years to get there. And I've been working at this so hard, and I'm so proud of what we're doing here. That it's more that. Here's something interesting too. I don't know if you guys knew this or not. Let me see if I can find this real quick. There's a percentage of here it goes. Let me see. 0.67 of 1%. 0.67, so 2/3 of 1% of channels make it to 100,000. It's pretty rarefied air. So it's a cool thing. And it's not, like I said, it's not about bragging rights or anything. They are going to send me a plaque. I'm going to be stoked about it. But it's more about 11 years of busting my tail and being really proud of this work we're doing, and thinking about the community and thinking about how cool this community is. You know, if you look, we just said this a few minutes ago, you look through the comments and everybody's super chill. We're all hanging out, super fun. We got the Patreon community too. They come and hang out once a month. We've got all these things that it's, again, we talk about intangibles. It's not even about the numbers so much as it is about just all the things that we do together as a Dylan Talks Tone community. And I just appreciate y'all. I just think it's really cool. So yeah, super awesome. Thank you so much for everything. And we will see you. I might put out a video tomorrow.